maybe somebody would have brought that up, but it's too late now to.
Why is it too late now?
It's not something that anybody else has to get involved in. This is an appropriation from the select board, following all the rules and legalities necessary to obligate money from the ARPA funds received by the town.
Amen.
Okay, but the ARPA money is still town money. It belongs to the town's people, and $15,000 is a great deal of money. And I'm just curious because in other instances, when any time there was a great deal of money to be the select board to choose, it was put in front of the public. So I'm just asking, have you considered that?
No, it wasn't. Not when we approved the money for Mark's expenditure for retaining him last year. That wasn't put up for a vote. That was done by the select board. I believe it was either.
And we also did not do that for the heat pumps at the school system.
That's correct too.
And, so this is not a precedent-setting situation. In fact, this is the smallest of the appropriations that have been obligated by the select board of the ARPA funds. So I'll have to stick to my guns on this guy. It's a leveraged opportunity to double the value of the money that has been appropriated by the federal government. It is a match of $15,000, so its value is $30,000. It is an appropriate match. It is an appropriate way to spend money one-to-one. It is a very good way of leveraging those funds for the buildings. And that is what the ARPA monies are going to be used for. It's used for the school building, the meeting house, town hall, salaries, retentions. In fact, your salary increase will also come from the ARPA monies in 2023-24 budget. So we don't have to go and have it in front of a town meeting in order to do that. Yes, sir.
There's one other thing that was a factor in this decision. In order to get the grant, I believe, if my memory's not failing me, and that's becoming a little suspect lately, the History Preservation Trust needed a demonstration of citizen support for the upgrading of the building to get this grant. And conceivably, if you look at whether they're going to use this grant as a basis for any future decision, it was the factor is we needed to show support, and it was $15,000. It wasn't a significantly larger amount of money. So for all the reasons that Dot mentioned, plus that, and the meeting house committee did specifically attend a select board meeting to make that request, and it was on the agenda. We agreed to support the committee in regard to this grant application by making this pledge, which we're now following through on.
And it was part of the RFP that is posted on the town website.
Amen.
That it was part of it. But I understand what you're saying, Mr. Tanza, but this has been going on for months, so we're going to move on. Item number 2. So Sky, actually, if you want to, I'm going to continue. Article number 2. I'll read the motion again. A motion to authorize $35,000 of ARPA money to be moved to the dedicated fund of the Brookline Meeting House account. These ARPA funds can only be used with the permission of the select board on approved projects, grant matches on this municipally owned building. I'd like to make that motion. May I have a second before we have a discussion?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce Mello. Discussion. This additional money, there was a discussion at the last select board meeting of having a little bit more of a community input to see how that money would be used. And I do believe that by placing the survey, which we just agreed on, out to the public, that this would be a good way to generate the interest in making an additional contribution totaling at $50,000 of ARPA money to the Brookline Meeting House. However, at this time, I am of the mind to do 2 things. One would be to table this motion until we have the results of the survey to confirm that this is the route that the community wants to take based upon the results of the survey. And 2, I'm concerned about, in this case, not following, because it was not part of an RFP or a previous pledge, that I might need to recuse myself as a member of that committee for this particular motion. Any other discussion?
Oh, boy.
So you've amended the motion that was on the agenda. I have no problem with the amendment being made.
I didn't amend anything.
Well, it doesn't mention anything about making this in any way, manner, shape, or form, committed or not committed to the survey. And we're entering it here as,
I don't even know what the survey's got anything to do with it.
No, I'm just saying that I think that before we commit an additional $35,000 to the Brookline Meeting House, we table this until after a survey has been analyzed, which would collect more data from the community to see if there is that impetus to continue to move on. The Brookline Meeting House has been significantly
Throwing
collecting money.
thousands, thousands, and thousands and thousands of dollars into that building. Isn't that a proof of impetus?
making a long story short, I
You have. the
I
vote.
support your
I suggest we
tabling of
ta-
the thing.
I suggest that we vote.
I'm recused.
I'm in favor of tabling it.
In favor of tabling, you're recusing.
So
I'm
it's
not in favor-
tabled.
I'm not in favor of tabling, so now what do you do?
I think it goes as
It gets
an
dropped.
approval, it gets dropped.
It gets
the whole
dropped.
thing gets
The whole
dropped.
motion gets dropped. then.
Drop it.
All right, we will,
Don't fight me tonight,
all right, but if you tabled it, it would come back up in April.
forget it.
Okay. All right, so we will continue on. We will, the vote is to is mute because we do not have three people who would vote for the authorization with the recusal.
Spend it on the roads, make everybody happy.
Table. Vote. Recuse. Okay. Number 3. Authorize obligating $5,000 of ARPA funds to the Deerfield Valley Fiber CUD, of which the town of Brookline is a member of, in support of their efforts to provide those underserved residents in Brookline access to broadband high-speed internet during phase 3 of the DV Fiber's build-out. Funds directed to DV Fiber will be matched if obligated before May 30th, 2023, which would then total $10,000 for the town of Brookline's internet accessibility. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan Noga. We will go into discussion. I will make a note that in today's email, we received from DV Fiber a summary of town select boards who have donated or who have made their donations to the DV Fiber CUD. Again, with under consideration, they are suggesting that Brookline contribute $10,000. So by offering a $5,000 ARPA for the CUD, it will be leveraged to be equivalent to $10,000 to the citizens of Brookline. Again, and it is will be matched up to by May 30th, 2023.
Is that date accurate? Somewhere I recall, and I don't know where this is coming from, what conversation, but I thought it had to be before May, not necessarily May 30th. Which for the treasurer to issue checks
Hold on,
is critical to know. So that's why I'm asking.
I have that date. Up here, Vermont Community Broadband will match town local fiscal recovery ARPA contributions dedicated to broadband in an expanded town match program as part of the VCBB Act 71 broadband construction grant program. To be matched, the funds must be pledged to the community union, the CUD serving the town, or an eligible provider. Blah, 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 blah. What this is the date on here? It's not giving me a date. Well,
I don't,
I'd
I
like
have
to
no
make-
problem with the date, other than we clarify before the checks are issued and before.
Right, it's actually making the pledge for that, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna take us
We
3
can
months
look
to
the date up
write
another time.
the checks, so it would be, they would be in their hands before the date of May, whatever, May 1st, May 30th, I think it was May 30th. And I probably have it in here in more detail, but it's not on the top of my page here.
I think I looked at minutes from when Mr.
John?
John attended, and for some reason, I think it says May
Right,
as a general month. It doesn't say May 30th or May
Right.
1st. It said before May.
right, and we did have several meetings on the agenda, in fact, one in which Steve and John came in person, and another one where he zoomed in
Yeah.
and clarified some issues, so it's been on the agenda for discussions several times. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing the obligation of $5,000 of ARPA funds to the Deerfield Valley Fiber CUD, of which the town of Brookline is a member of, in support of their efforts to provide those underserved residents of Brookline's access to broadband high-speed internet during phase 3 of the fiber build-out. Funds directed to the fiber, knowing that the funds will be matched. May I have a second? We did that already, right? Second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, 3 of us, the motion has passed. Thank you very much. Okay, next one. It's an amendment. Okay. Number 4. I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion made at the August 12th, 2021 meeting regarding the amount of ARPA funds to place in the highway salary line item to cover the increase of hourly salary rate of $24 to $30 and the number of annual hours to the road supervisor may work to 1,560. The wording of the motion from August did not indicate, the last sentence says a matching retirement contribution of up to 5% of his salary will be made to a qualified retirement account. The assistant treasurer has asked that we modify it and say up to 5% of his gross salary, so that it doesn't break down whether he's working for the school or he's working for the on the roads. So I'm going to ask to modify the motion from August 12th to add the word gross salary. So to clarify that it's a combination of both. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce. Any other discussion? Just adding the word gross salary. All right, all those in favor of approving this motion to modify the August motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Next item here is not a motion, it's a discussion. It's a discussion about purchasing a town truck. And the example that we looked at was what was down at Space Ford, is that in Brattleboro? Just around by the roundabout, there was an example.
It's the same company, but it's in Westminster.
Oh,
A
okay.
little bit further
Faith
north.
isn't owned by, there's no Bradbury anymore.
Oh, there isn't?
They
Okay.
sold out.
All right,
Anyway, so it's not in Brattleboro.
no,
Okay.
by Westminster.
All right, and then the item C is discussion about purchasing a wheeled excavator, and almost those two items sort of go hand in hand. I have to say this. I have to ask the select, what's more important right now? Researching the excavator or a truck? My problem with the truck, even though I'm pro about getting the equipment necessary for the road work to be done, and that Mark can then fill some of those hours that we promised him that for working in the town. But I was thinking, and I was butting heads around and talked with Stan and a couple other people. And if we got a truck, it's sort of like putting, and you'll like this analogy, because a cart before the horse. Because we wouldn't have any way to utilize the truck without a piece of equipment that can pick something up and put on the truck. You can't move gravel unless we have an excavator.
We're talking 20 years down the road here.
What do you mean 20 years down the road?
I don't see that at all. Did I finish? You were not finished? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying that I think we really should get on the ball with the excavator. We haven't ordered anything for the summer. We don't know what's out there. We should, and we need to get aligned with the getting out the.
But it has nothing to do with purchasing a truck. If you have the truck and it's available, we can buy it in 2 weeks. It's got nothing to do with the excavator.
What's the point of having the truck if it's just drive around town?
Well, we're not gonna do just the one. I don't understand why the excavator's gotta be here first before we get a town truck. We have an opportunity to purchase a really good quality truck, if it is. We haven't checked it out yet. We haven't checked out all the details yet, fair enough. But I don't have to do with the other at all.
I'm sorry.
Yes, do we want both? Yes, we want both. I just don't understand why the wheel excavator has to come first if you've got a town truck sitting right there ready to buy. It's in beautiful shape. It's a marvelous opportunity if it pans out. I guess I'm making a point.
Having a truck and no heavy equipment is not the way to go. If we're gonna keep anyone, the availability of the town being served right away, should something serious happen, like did on the storm of 2021 in August, that it's more useful and functional and can save the town money by having the piece of the heavy equipment first to do the work. And if it's an excavator or any other kind of vehicle that has a loader and or backhoe, that can be driven from the garage to the site. And that's not hearing how Mark's feeling about it, and Mark probably should be an input, but so that's the general topic. The second issue is, based on data that was provided by our assistant treasurer, without even considering the fact that we're currently sort of underfunded with the, I'm sorry. As the town budget for municipal and highway stands now, anyone with a $200,000 valued house is going to have a $266 increase right off the top, over what the numbers were last year. We have no idea what our real estate tax rate's gonna be. We do know that our CLA is over the levels, but very close to the level of the maximum allowable, which probably means that in the course of the tax rate being set for this town, there's a penalty for our CLA ratio being as close to the borderline as it is. So I'm looking at, my house is appraised for a little about $200,000. I could conceivably see in 1 year a $300 increase in my taxes for my property in this town for just this year. Never mind waiting another year for FEMA to pay what they owe the town for all the monies and expenditures. And so it's not like we have all kinds of money that we can play around with. There are restrictions like anyone's family budget as to what you can do. Can we go out and eat today? Maybe, maybe not. Let's look at our wallet, see what we got. I think our wallet is a little tight right now. And I think that adding a tax burden to the citizens of the town is something that I would refrain from. And if I'm gonna make any consideration to purchasing something, I think a wheeled excavator or some similar device that meets the need of the highway department be our primary focus. The other aspect, the third thing I'd like to say is the bed of that truck looks like it has a metal floor, but it doesn't have sides. So if you're gonna put heavy rock in there, gonna go up to Mr. Clark's and get some rock or so forth for ditching and so forth, you got 18 inches at max of siding and it's wood. You're gonna dump something into that? I don't see that as completely functional. So I would prefer that we hold off on any serious discussion at this time, or not proceed to purchase the truck that was emailed over the last few days. And I would suggest we focus on a piece of equipment. And if there's any consequence, I did log on to the AOT auction site. The state doesn't auction it itself, it hires people. I went and looked at 2020s and 2021 and 20 and 19. And although aged, that are much more within our budget. If the auction comes up, they're not gonna actually put out a formal list until March of this year. The auction is on May 13th.
I'm gonna just read to you some of the response from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns lawyer. Basically, in summary, without reading a whole paragraph, there are some nuances here to this policy, which we have. The select board has the authority for purchasing such equipment. The voters' approval needs to be collected if we, depending upon how we're going to fund the truck. If it's all ARPA money, then they don't need to have the voter approval. If we are going to get a loan from the bond bank.
I forget, it's a division, I think, of the State Treasurer's Department. that deals
Yeah,
with
then
this.
again, we're okay, but at this time, I really want, I'm sorry, I want us to focus on the big thing, because if we get a little,
Well,
and that, I
I'm
will.
outvoted, so I'll go further. Let's just move on.
All right, so,
There's no sense of beating it up.
so what I would
don't
like,
agree 100%, and I'm not in the greatest frame of mind tonight, which doesn't freaking help.
I know,
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
well, we'll take it with a grain of salt, okay, anything I say. But I think your argument, has, in a nice way, Stan, has holes in it like crazy. First of all, the first part about the taxes has nothing to do with the taxes, at all, zero. The second part about.
why does it have nothing to do with the
Because
tax?
it doesn't, because you're not increasing the budget.
Where's the money gonna come from? I want,
ARPA.
get it on record.
The ARPA money, that has nothing to do with taxes, we cannot use ARPA taxes, correct?
Correct, you
Okay,
cannot,
that's point number one. Point two about the quality, because if you might remember, I said at least 2 or 3 times, it remained to be seen whether it was worth it or not. Your points, which is valid, is you'd rather concentrate on the other machine.
yeah,
I got that, but I don't think that that's a big concentration. Because we go see it, like, buy it, and that's it. I don't understand what all the difficulty is with that. And we have an opportunity, and lastly, we have an opportunity, I think, again, as repeated again the third time, like when we see it, of getting a vehicle that will help him, Mark, mean it that way, to help Mark and to help the town in the future. We've had that grader for how many years? 35, 40 years now. 40 years. So when you're buying something with that condition with 46,000 miles, you'll be 85, we'll be 90 before they'll even need another truck. That's Ford. That is the best-selling vehicle since 1981. The Ford F-150. Well, that's a
250.
250.
Right. All right.
And last point,
Mhm.
and the largest selling truck for 46 years. There's a reason for that. I'm done.
Okay, I
I'm
do
done.
have to say that,
I'm done. I'm outvoted, so I got that. There's no.
we're not voting on anything. It's
Well,
a
it doesn't
discussion.
matter.
I think
I'm
there's,
just saying, democracy. I understand, I believe that.
town truck might be something to put off at this time, but really to start to go after the wheeled excavator and to try to find some place that would even start out with the lease option, which is the first 60 day. Many places that do a lease, the option to buy will provide the first 3 months of your rental agreement towards the purchase price. And if we need to start looking at that, we don't have anything lined up for the summer at all. And you have an awful lot of work to do to finish up for our FEMA repairs. So I think that is what we need to focus on. I think the town would appreciate seeing the grader going down the road right now rather than a truck that they think is just cruising around, not the grader.
We're talking 30 years, 20 years.
There's,
I don't understand why
you've
we're.
got enough time, Bruce.
Okay, you're right. Let's stop it. Now, let's move to 7. Wait, excuse me. I didn't mean to do that. Been a rough day. Let's move on, okay?
All right, so we will not going to, we'll try to look at, purchasing the excavator initially, going forward. All right, reports and updates, Mr. Mark Bill, road supervisor.
Okay, so the past couple weeks, temperatures have been on the rise and we've had some windy weather just monitoring roads. And knowing that, 50-degree weather is coming with no trees at nights. You could already see the change in the road softening, so we've been, applying our planned crushed stone